Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Matchbook Horse Racing podcast. Now, we're on the eve of Royal Ascot, so this is going to be a quick fire one, but the content's going to be brilliant. We wanted, because it's only me and another guest for this one, to get the very best out there. So, because he wasn't available, we've had to settle with Steve Jones. So Jonesy and I are going to rattle through the pick of the action from Sandown, York, and a cheeky one at Chester. Stephen, how are you?
Very well, Thomas. Thank you. Yes, it's only you and me. It reminds me of Valentine's Day, just you and me.
It does.
Very romantic.
Yeah, exactly that. Although I was going to say now we're wearing something, but that's just weird. So let me remind you to like and subscribe if you want more content like that. And it'll mean that all the podcasts we do, everything is on your doorstep. That's very important. It helps us as well. So do it. And also leave us a review because as long as it's positive, that helps us as well. So thank you for that in advance. 2 o'clock at York is what we kick off with. So that's where I'm going to start. We've got 4 from York, 2 from Sandown, and 1 from Chester. York's got a good card. To be fair, there are some fair betting opportunities, although I don't know how strong Steve is on this. Kiava, who likes the track, is 5.0. Bolin Margaret is 7.0. Dream Harder is 7.0. Bigger prices thereafter. Steve, we agree. Kiava, I'm really taken by the booking of Jody Townend. Kiava won the race that he'd won the year previously at York at the Dante meeting. Subsequent to that, he had 2 runs at the track and couldn't win. But he came out and won at Market Raising over hurdles. He's remained in good form. And this is a slightly lesser contest than those he went for subsequent to his win last year. I thought he was a fair favourite. I didn't want to oppose, but I wouldn't be betting big because this race can be a little bit trappy. I think only one favourite's won it in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I don't hold too much in those stats, but yeah, it's my kind of race really. This I'm trying to look in an angle in, but I just couldn't get past Kiviva. Everything. I think maybe a breathing operation that this horse had in January might just have done the trick, and has been gradually progressive, and it's just never looked like getting beat in my opinion. Back in May at the Dante meeting when ridden by Tom Marquand, then switched a couple of weeks later to Market Raising and went in again. Just seems pretty progressive, this horse. Maybe not progressive, but just things seem to have clicked with Kiava. I can't clicked more than the way I can say it. But yeah, you're right. You try and take this horse on. Then you see Jody Townend coming over to ride it, which is a huge help. There's some good experienced riders in here, these lady amateurs, and she is about the standout of them. And there is more of a range of abilities than you would normally get in a professionals race, obviously. So to have someone like her riding is just kind of like the final piece of the jigsaw. I wouldn't go mad because of the price, but I think it's got to be very competitive, and it is absolutely the right favourite. And there's a case for saying he should be a bit shorter.
Okay, that's Kiava in the opener on ITV Racing at 2 o'clock at York. It's the opener on the York card is 5.0. Would you just go win or a filthy win and place, Steve?
Yeah, just have a small win bet. It certainly shouldn't be any longer, this horse. So I'm quite happy with that, but not really. I fancy a few at quite big prices, and that's more my kind of thing.
All right, let's try and find some. So Kiava, for both of us in the opener at York, we go to the 2:15 at Sandown. This is the Aspel Cider 17.28 handicap. Bodogan is 5.0. New Dimension is a 6.0 shot. Helm Rock is 7.5, 8.5 for Dutch Decoy, 10.0 Baltimore Boy, and then we're into the double figures off the back of this. You can kick us off here, Steve.
Yeah, mine wasn't mentioned in the betting. This is more my kind of race. And First View is the horse that I've come down on. Trained by Said Bin Saroy, we know
19.0.
19.0. That is a sensational price, I must say. That is sensational. I thought overnight that this price might have collapsed a little bit, but that is incredible. Said bin Saror's had his team in really top form, the Godolphin trainer. Now, I can see why this horse might be a big price, but it's a false price, because the last 2 runs this horse had were in Maidan, beaten 17 lengths and 15 lengths in handicaps out there, which doesn't inspire a huge amount of confidence. But when you go back to the previous runs in Dubai, beaten 15 lengths, 12 lengths, 21 lengths and 15 lengths, he don't like Dubai. He no good in Dubai. His record in Britain, 4 wins from 7 starts. And although some of them, 3 of them were on the all-weather, he has one on turf and he needs fast ground. Last summer, he was returning from nearly 2 years, or more than 2 years off the track. He only got touched off ahead first time up off the back of that long break. So no problem with him being fresh, not run since February. Went on to win at Leicester and then ran a really good race from the widest draw in the John Smith's Cup when he was 7th. He's only beaten 4 lengths that day, ran real well. And that came off the back of that Leicester win. And when you consider Anmart, who won the John Smith's Cup, who was only 4 lengths in front of him, went on to win a Group 1 last time in France. So he's got everything there, and he's 19.0. I just, if Christian Howarth, the claiming jockey, had been riding him because he got a good record on him, then I'd have been even more confident. But Dane O'Neill isn't going to make any mistakes. That's just a minor thing. I think he's a superb bet.
Christian Howarth, who is the son of Said's assistant. I'm interested that he's not on board because I thought that was interesting. Listen, I love everything you said, and he was second on my list. I completely agree with the UK form, and that York form is ridiculous. So I'm going to follow you in there. I will back the horse, but I thought I wanted to put up New Dimension just because he was one of my horses this year that I wanted to follow, and he was taken out of the race at York. I think it was at the Dante meeting before the off. I can't remember why, whether it was an issue with the vet down at the start. Anyway, he didn't run. I've been looking forward to seeing him. I think that 10 will be on his agenda this year for all. He was just a bit hangy and flappy at the end of it at Yarmouth on his last start. He wants quick ground. He proved that at Leicester when he won on debut. I like the way he went through the Yarmouth race, and I would have him ahead of Bodogan in the betting. Bodogan travelled well in the race won by Covey at Haydock. I'm not sure he will relish the finish at Sandown up the hill over a mile, whereas New Dimension definitely will. And run more for Sir Michael Stout. Happy days. I thought 6.0, the fact that he's still a win and place price for me, but I will follow you in as well, Steve, if you don't mind. I think that's a good shout on first view. And we roll on to the 235 at York. This is a handicap over 7 furlongs. Darkness and Eligible 6.0. Liam Marty Dream 7.5. Wild Lion for Saeed is 8.5, 10.0, and Bigger the Rest. I'll kick us off here because this is my best bet, Steve, if that's all right. This Eligible should be clear favourite. I have no idea why he isn't. He won the race at York last time where another investment tanked through it, didn't get a clear run. I was on another investment that day. And I kept, throughout up the straight, I thought, and bearing in mind I'd been on another investment at 41.0, I thought, this wins. I'm so unlucky. How have I not won this? Proper head in hands, the world's against me stuff. And then watching the race back, I did racing replay for Racing TV that day. And watching the race back, I came to the conclusion that, well, actually another investment probably doesn't fully stay 7. And Eligible would have beaten him wherever he was put in the race. He was held up. He was an absolute plot job for the race. Both he and another investment were hammered in the betting. And Eligible also had to wait for a run. The fact that he only went up £3 for his next success is a gift, because if he'd have got a clear run, he'd have won it easily and could have got up 9 on 10. I suppose the only worry is he's a 7-year-old, so it's hard to call him progressive. But that being said, he'd been running a good bit on the all-weather in the lead up to that York race, and I really fancy he can follow up again over course and distance. 6.0. I think is very, very fair. So eligible is going to be a chunky bet for me. Steve.
Yeah, I think the reason why people might not be so keen on eligible because he has got one style of racing and he needs to come from off the pace. But the good thing is he should get that decent pace. Guidor and the likes of Judgment Call and a few others like to push the pace. So he should get that set up. The one I like is a horse called Admiral D. I won't have any jokes about him coming from the rear, being a rear admiral. But he's tried 7 furlongs on 4 occasions and hasn't run particularly well, which at first glance put me off. And then I looked at it, and all those 4 are on soft ground, and that just stretches him on there. If you go back, and his form over 6 furlongs is much better on fast ground, and he hasn't had it very often. If you go the last twice, he's had good to firm ground. He was 3rd to a day in Asia in the Shergar Cup last season, and that's good form. A day in Asia won again next time, and had been won 4 on the bounce after that. And then before that was 2nd to Lethal Levi at the July meeting at Newmarket in one of the best 3-year-old sprints in the season that's been won by serious horses. So that was a really good performance. And since then, he's been running okay. He wasn't beaten far in the Air Gold Cup, and this season he ran okay at Newmarket first 2 starts. But it was on easier ground, and last time in the Victoria Cup, he was never going to be suited by a stiff course over 7 on soft ground. So the fact that he's slid in the weights when he hasn't had his conditions, I think masks the fact that he still is in form. And if he does get 7 furlongs on fast ground, that I think he will, he's going to be a massive player down in weight and crucially down in grade for the first time to this sort of level in his whole career. So Admiral D for Richard Farley and Usheen Orr.
And Admiral D is 12.0 shot. Yard are in good nick. 250 at Sandown is the Molson Coors Scurry Stakes listed race over the 5. Great State is 3.0, 4.0 for Perdica, 4.33 for 3.3 for Tajala. Yassat is 17.0. They're the bigger prices. Go on, Steve. How strong? Oh, you haven't got a bet in here. Pathetic.
I haven't. Katie Content maybe. I didn't like the look of the race, and I do fancy a few strongly at decent prices. So I thought I'll let you have the stage, Tommy. All to yourself. We
don't put them up for the sake of it on the Match for Betting podcast because that's all a bit wishy-washy. So, although we probably both did in the opener, I thought Yassat was a big price here. I wouldn't mind a very quick view on Great State from you, just because I watched the race initially. I was working and I thought, I'm not, the market leader disappointed a bit. The action unfolded up towards the near side, which it always seems to at York now, even if the pace is high. I don't know. And I came away thinking, Claire, I think that might be a bit of a weak listed contest. But then the time was pretty good, although they all were. Anyway, I've come down, Steve, that this horse is a bit short. Did you have a view on Great State or not?
Only that I don't really like horses like Great State purely because they're giving weight away to other horses in a listed race because of that win last time out under that penalty. And he did. I know his previous wins, he'd been ridden more prominently, but he came from off the pace that day. And if he tries to do that from stall 2, he might find a few traffic problems. It's just at that sort of price, you want everything in your favour, and I just don't think he has. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he won, but it was one of those sort of races nothing excited me too much.
Fine, and I agree on the draw as well. Now, the meeting here 10 days before the Brigadier Gerard, the rail up the straight course was dead. But then they do move that rail, and then it became good last time for the Brigadier Gerard meeting. That doesn't help necessarily, but I think they normally keep it in the same place now. So I think it's probably going to be good again, although it's not as good as it used to be all those years ago when you had to be up against it. But I don't love his run style for his draw. All in all, I am against. Perdica, I'm well against. I'm a huge fan of hers, but dropping back to the minimum on rattling quick ground, not for me at all. I'll come back to her later. Sajala, fine, but too short for me on the quickest ground he's faced. And then you get to Yassart. Now, Yassart's had nigh on a year off, was second to the Platinum Queen when last seen, albeit sent off odds on, and has won on quick ground before. I thought she was a very fair price. Carl Burke had a filly at York, actually, who won on her first start of the season, whose name escapes me, who I was against because the consensus was she'd need the run. But I don't know. The suggestion will probably be that this filly will need the run, but she could just be too good. She's getting weight, but she's very classy, and I hope she's ready enough for this. At 17.0, I'm very happy to have her from stall 4, prominent racer as well, which I think is what you want on the straight course there. So I'll have a bit of her in the 250 at 17.0. The 305 is the Grand Cup at York, Steve. I'll let you kick us off here. I was fairly tepid on this. Isra at 3.75. Quickthorn is, Isra 2.75. Quickthorn is 3.0. Roberto Escobar 6.0. And then bigger prices the rest. I'm not convinced by Quickthorn on very quick ground. Equally, he might nick it. But I thought Isra was, the form from last time I thought was pretty much the most solid on offer.
Yeah, I thought it was clearly the best form on offer. And Isra should have this set up for him as well, because although he's trying this sort of distance for the first time, he's up to 1.6 miles. I don't think that's going to be any issue whatsoever. He's got a superb pedigree. He's son of Tagruda, the Oaks winner, and one of those great races a few years ago. So he's got the pedigree. And Quickthorn likes to dominate, but he won't be able to do that with 8 box in there. They'll go a decent gallop. Roberto Escobar, last year's winner, 2 years ago, winner, has got to carry a penalty because won the Henry II stakes last time at Sandown, and that was a pretty ordinary race for the grade. In fact, it was a very ordinary race for the grade. But that means that Roberto Escobar has to carry a penalty and give weight to Isra, who last time came within a whisker of beating Haskoy, who was 4th in the Ledger, only beating a couple of lengths, and looked at a wonderful prospect. And Bolshoi Ballet, who, although might have been a little bit disappointing, had some really good form, especially in America, if you go back far enough, and hadn't had problems before that. So I just thought everything looked in place for Israel. It's not my sort of price, but very short.
What about the ground? You think he'd be all right on the ground?
Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's won on heavy, but he's won on all manner of ground. And the pedigree certainly says that he won't be any problem. If you go back to Royal Ascot last year, that was quick ground at Ascot, and he was only beaten a length by Secret State and Deauville Legend. And next time out, that Deauville Legend and Secret State were first and second in the Great Voltager. So giving weight to that pair, that was a spectacular effort on fast ground, and no problem with fast ground, really.
Steve, I've this is terrible, but having said we don't put up horses for the sake of it, I'm going to change to a no bet here. I think he's the most likely winner, but at that price, am I gonna back him? And the other thing that you pointed out, this is now at the back of my mind. He's a son of Tagruda. What happened to Tagruda here on quick ground? She got done at very short in the Yorkshire Oaks.
It's a bit tenuous, that.
It is. I just don't like it. I'm gonna listen. I think most likely winner, but I'm at that price. I'm gonna be in. I've talked myself out of it.
I'm only small stakes. If you're into putting horses and backing them, and then kind of trying to roll up in later races, then yeah, because Israel I think will win. But for me, yeah, small stakes, solid. Just add a little bit of pocket money.
Great work from our producer Daniel Hussey for changing the graphic there as I decided to change my mind. You know what they say, never change your mind. So I have.
He's so excited for the Ashes, is Dan. Aren't we all?
Oh my! He's got Ashes fever. He's actually in his cricket kit He's got his island jumper on, and he's got a strike rate of 200, which is about the best going currently.
I mean, that's just phenomenal. He's got a strike rate of 200.
Yeah.
He once scored 2 not out. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
Different gear.
I'm not. If he wasn't Irish, I think he'd be on the fringes of the Ashes team for England.
Didn't stop Owen Morgan. The 320 at Chester is the Edinburgh Gin Seaside Handicap. Man of Eden 5.0, Tafreej 6.0, Sophia's Starlight 7.0, Saxon King 8.0, Royal Dubai 9.0, 13.0 and bigger than rest. Steve, kick us off.
I'm going to go for the outsider of the entire field. This is a mile or 7.5 and a bit furlongs, and everyone knows you need to be drawn next to the rail at Chester. It's more important the short. So 5 furlongs, top 3 boxes, got a phenomenal record, and then it gets gradually lesser. But it certainly won't be a hindrance that Reader is in stall 3, and this horse had some really good novice form last year. Finished 4th and 3rd in 2 novice races last season. The 3rd was behind High Royal, who of course was runner-up in the Guineas. So that was pretty decent form, and there was depth to that race as well. And having finished 4th first time up to Captain Winters, first time up at Thirsk, and Captain Winters won a listed race this season. So the form there stacks up. First time out at Pontefract, I just thought it's just needed the run a little bit. It was a bit keen, probably sat too close to the pace because he was keen. And then last time at York, I think he ran a much, much, much better race than his finishing position of 8th of 10, beaten 8 lengths. Now he's keen again. They didn't go much pace at York, and he was keen again, but he made really smooth progress. And I just thought he got involved too early. And you can understand why he did, because they didn't go much pace, but he got there. And the fact that he had been keen meant the petrol ran dry. If he'd have waited a little bit longer, he might have been, he wouldn't have won because the setup of the race wasn't right for him, but he might have been 4th or 5th if he'd have waited a bit longer. This horse is well handicapped, I think. He's been dropped a couple of pounds for that. He's got the draw. He'll get cover from stall 3. If I'd say that there's a bit of pace out wide and they'll come over. And if he can hold his position, there's absolutely no way he should be the outsider of the whole field at 34.0 or something. Oh, no. That is a monstrous. If things drop right, they will have to drop right. I mean, you're not gonna be getting a 34.0 certainty, are you? But winning place, I think this horse can run a massive race. Reader, if that's how you say it, Reader.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I like a Steve Jones outsider. The one I'm going to put up is a horse that was in Dubai, Royal Dubai. He won on his debut on the dirt. I quite like the fact that he's been on the dirt for Chester because he can get out and race handy. He did that at Chelmsford last time. Look, I suppose we don't know what he's like on turf, but I still think he's underestimated just because he was underestimated last time because of the fact that he'd been on the dirt in Dubai. But I was quite impressed with what he did last time. Man of Eden is, I think, going to run this evening. He's 3.0 for a race this evening at Goodwood, so he's not going to back up. So you can take him out. And then I got to Royal Dubai, who I thought would have things set up pretty nicely in his favour. I just thought he was a bit underestimated at 9.0. Win and place, won't be too far away to attack. And he doesn't lack speed because you need that to win over 7 furlongs on the dirt, but equally he saw it out well last time. I think the trip will be absolutely fine for all to get a little bit further. So Royal Dubai, win and place for me. And then we come on to the 340 at York. Nice big field handicap, heritage handicap, class 2 contest. I'll just give you the prices when we get there. And I'll kick us off if you don't mind, Steve. Spirit of Applause and Bucker Bay for me. I did want to mention that I thought Quinault would have a lovely chance up against Nigh on the Stands Rail at 8.0. So I'm not against him as such, but there were a couple of other bigger prices who interested me. Pace I had probably middle, slightly more to Stan's side, but it's not easy to get into it from off the pace on quick ground on the straight course by and large. Bucker Bay ran at Windsor last time, where he was drawn 9. He travelled wide early into the race in the bend and then kept on. But the two that fought it out were much more on the inside, including the strong travelling second up the rail. So I thought he was worth marking up off the back of that. Has won on quick ground. I'm not convinced that 6 here will suit, but he's worth playing at the prices. I wonder if he wants something a little bit stiffer like Ascot, or whether a stiffer 6, or whether he wants an easy 7. But he's definitely worth playing for a yard in form. He could be very well drawn right in amongst that heap of pace out of 19. And the other one was Spirit of Applause. He might not be well drawn. He's out of 6, which is a slight concern. But if you watch what he did at Nottingham last time, I really think this track will suit him. He's a very quick horse. He hit the front at Nottingham before being reeled back in by Funny Story. But I think a sharp 6 is exactly what he wants. That's what he's going to get here. And he likes quick ground for local trainer Tim Easterby. So I thought Spirit of Applause at 17.0 and Bucker Bay, another price that I've forgotten, slightly bigger, 23.0, were 2 win and place shouts. Steve?
Yeah, this is generally my sort of race, but I thought it was pretty tricky. I did think that it's got a strange shape to it, because most of the fancied horses are drawn very high, and it's got potential for a bit of a shock. But I'm going to stay high with Quintus Arias, who his Pontefract second back in May, when he was short-headed in, I think it was his handicap debut. That form ties in. He was second to Ertibat, and that form ties in quite well with Quinault. So he on that form, he's not too far behind it. And then last time at Hamilton, on easier ground, he's not raced on ground this quick before, but I don't think there's any problem with that. I think that's just coincidence. He might even improve a little bit for it. But last time at Hamilton, oh God, he travelled so well, this horse. And Tom Ease was desperate not to get to the front, but he did. He got to the front too soon. And it looked like Mountain Warrior, who'd been under pressure a long way out, chasing Quintus Arias, might get back up, but he just had enough time to get on top. He was valued for much further than that. He's going to love this kind of setup, Quintus Arias, where he can ride more of a race. And the way he travelled, he's obviously going to be up to this sort of grade. So him at what was he, about 11.0 or something? I think. Yeah. I think he's got a good chance, Quintus Arias. But when I say he's got a good chance, I think there's an awful lot of horses in there that have got a good chance. But he's the one that I fancy the most. All
right. Any other bets then? You've got one at Chester.
I have, yeah. That is in the 5 furlong race at Chester, the 2:10. And the stats for the top 3 stalls in this, if you take out races with less than, excuse me, with 8 or 10 runners, then the stats are really good. And Speedicus of David O'Mara, who's drawn in stall 3. Now, David O'Mara, I think he hasn't had the best start to the season, but I think his horses are definitely coming into form. And Speedicus won at Chepstow a couple of starts ago, and won quite nicely. This horse came from Ireland and had gone down in the weights. He'd slipped quite a lot in the weights, something like 15 pounds. And at Chepstow, he got back on track, and then was seen out the very next day over 6 furlongs. Well, 6 furlongs isn't his thing. And you can understand a horse, even a sprinter, running a little bit below par 24 hours after winning a race at the other side, in a different country. So I think Speedicus can bounce back from that after a fortnight off. And with that good draw, I just thought he was overpriced at about 10.0.
Okay, I don't have a price for my other bet, but it's just a watching brief, really, unless he is 3.0 or bigger. But Cathab runs in the 4 o'clock at Sandown. This was the horse that was hammered in the betting at York in the race won by owner companion Mostabshir. It's really good form. Ziryab has come out and bolted up since. It's a really, really nice horse. And has the 4th run? The 4th has come out and won since. I mean, it's outrageously good form. Master Chartwell ran yesterday, I think, was a bit disappointing. But other than that, it's really good form. Mostabshir was far too good. But it's a race where you've got the likes of a Dublin lad in there who ran well on his debut. He could actually head the betting ahead of Cathab, who was supposedly disappointing last time. I still think he's got loads of ability, and hopefully stepping up in distance will suit, because in his pedigree, there's plenty of stamina in there. So Cathab as another bet for me, but has to be 3.0 or bigger. Steve, your Matchbook Zero long shot, please. A reminder of Matchbook Zero. Zero margin, zero commission, £20 maximum bet from 10 a.m. each day on selected markets. If you get best odds normally anyway with an extra exchange, you're more than likely to do so here. While you tell us your Matchbook Zero long shot, Steve, I've got to get the door.
It's Reader in the 320 at Chester, who, like I said earlier, with 34.0 is a crazy price for horse. It's well drawn. There's a lot of pace in the race, and it's a lot of pace out wide. So I think they'll be working hard from out wide to get to the lead, and they will go hard. And that might set it up for a horse who can just drop in a little bit and hopefully get the breaks. Last time out at York, I thought in a slowly run race, he travelled very well, but then maybe made his move a little bit too soon. And you go back to his novice form, and that is very, very good. He wasn't too far behind the Guineas runner-up last season. And I just think that he's way, way, way overpriced. I know you have to... A lot of people don't like Chester because you do need a little bit of luck, but I love it. I think there's lots of angles in at Chester, and you have got to be willing to take the rough with the smooth, because there's a fair bit of rough sometimes. But when you get the smooth, you can fall on a few, and hopefully that's Reader.
All right, and mine is Spirit of Applause in that sprint. Just at the prices, I thought he was far too big based upon his Nottingham run last time. But equally, it's an open race, but it's a long shot for a reason. So check out Matchbook Zero if you haven't already. Most likely to be getting best odds there. Zero margin, zero commission. Best lays. I don't think Steve has got one, but I'm going to lay Perdica in that Scurry Stakes, who I'm absolutely convinced wants. I think she's brilliant, and I'm a big fan of hers, but I'm sure she wants more cut in the ground. And I don't know if this is going to be too sharp for her. So I'm going to place lay her and hope she doesn't make the 3, Perdica. And best bets, I'm with Eligible, Steve, in the 235 at York. I've already made my case by and large, but I thought he was very, very comfortable last time, only gone up £3. Who is your best bet, Steve?
First View in the 215 at Sandown, the Godolphin horse, who doesn't like Dubai, but certainly likes Britain and goes well fresh. And what were we talking? 19.0 win in place. Sensational price.
Good stuff. That was it. We rattled through the races this weekend on ITV. Hope you've enjoyed it all. As far as Royal Ascot goes, Monday, midday, we're going to do the first 2 days, maybe a bit of Thursday as well. We're just working that out, but definitely the first 2 days are going to be covered with a stellar team for you. Royal Ascot next week. Join us on Monday at midday live for the start of our week preview at Royal Ascot. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely weekend.